Hi, Nicole here with Dear Teacher Instructional Coaching. So I wanted to talk just a little bit today about wrapping up the end of the school year. It's going to look very different than anything we've really ever had to do before. I think about the last day especially is usually the goodbyes, the yearbook signing, the goofy awards that people have. And the last week is collecting the materials, getting the novels back, getting the computers back or iPads back or whatever technology the kiddos have that is school property, making sure all of that is returned and wrapping up any loose ends. So obviously with distance learning, things are going to be looking a little bit different with this. And I don't know, this is going to sound maybe a little bit, what do I want to say? What's the word I'm looking for? This is going to sound a little bit flippant, but I don't care about the novels or the textbooks or the computers. Because to be real, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the logistics of them getting their materials back, checking that off my list. In this time, I'm a little bit more worried about making sure my students have closure and that we're putting like a really nice wrap up on the very end of our year. I just worry, I'm not physically there to, tell them how awesome the year was. Even with this distance learning, I think about and not that I care that students give me gifts, but I'm missing out on their appreciation. They're missing out on my appreciation of them. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen in distance learning? Come May 29th or June 15th or whenever you happen to be done with school, is that it? Like they just log off for the last time and there's no sense of closure to the year? And I know everybody's like, oh, the seniors. You know what? They'll be fine. It'll be okay. People have got things in the works to make graduation still memorable for these kids. Seniors are getting closure. What about the juniors? What about the freshmen? What about my 7th graders? What about the 4th grader? What about the kindergartner whose first year in school turned into distance learning? Man, I can't imagine. So seniors are going to get their thing, but I think it's important for us as teachers of other grade levels to make sure that we give the students a wrap up to the end of the year where we are giving them that emotional closure and it's not just a click off for the last time. So I'm going to be sharing with you 4 ideas that I have come up with on different ways that you can provide a positive and emotionally satisfying end to your school year. So here we go. One thought is to schedule an online goodbye class. So my team and I have been brainstorming some ideas about this. One thing would be very certain is you want to make sure that you are not in conflict with anybody else. So like our encore teachers want to be doing things like this, or the elective class teachers are wanting to do this type of thing too. It's not just core content. They want to be doing some type of goodbye as well. And so making sure that you kind of have that schedule down. And one way that we thought about doing it was, we go beyond, most teachers go above and beyond anyway and work past the hours that they are required to work. So at my district, we are required to put in 2 hours of office hours where we are present on Microsoft Teams and students can hop on if they want to. Okay, so super simple. So our kids are really familiar now with Microsoft Teams. I know some schools are using Zoom, and that's great too. But we were talking about, gosh, how would we like figure out a schedule? And it's like, maybe we just pick a day and we're like, okay, so Wednesday of the last week of school or Thursday of the last week of school, when you would normally have that class period, you sign on. So my first class period is at 8:45. I know, pretty late start compared to most places in the world. But 8:45 is when my first class starts. So I could even say like 8:45 and just do a half-hour increment. 8:45 to 9:15, go to your period 1 class. And then they could like take a break. And then from, the 9:30 to 10 o'clock, period 2 class. And just keep going in like those half-hour increments so they could log on. So scheduling a group goodbye that way is an idea. So my middle school has like that true middle school concept where we have different teams. So we have the same 105 students. All 4 of us on our team share the same 105 students. And they are on this one specific team. So we would, in our case, and another thought instead of going by class period is, gosh, like, it'd be really cool to bring the whole team together. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced, having a ton of people on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, but for us, when we use Microsoft Teams, if everybody has their microphone on, you get like insane feedback and you can't hear each other and it's super obnoxious. So you kind of have to like lay down when you log on, make sure your video is on and your volume is off. And then we'll have, I don't know how you would do like certain topics you want to talk about, like what is a really great memory that you've got, and maybe we're going to pull out a popsicle stick, and if it says, Jeremy, okay, Jeremy, are you on? Share with us a really great memory from the year, and you just keep going through like your list of kids. You could do it that way. You could just have kids pop on, like, I want to talk first, I want to share this idea, and talk to each other and have like a normal discussion, kind of like we adults have our big group discussions too. That's just really kind of facilitated by us. And then, so you could go by class period, you could just do a free-for-all, like huge group discussion, like bless and good luck if that is what you decide to do. The other thing you can do is actually an idea I got from our science teacher, and that is to allot times and send out like a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet where the kids can sign up and they actually have access to edit the link. And you could spread it out over the course of that entire last week. And it could just be like our final wrap up and goodbyes for the year. And we can have, sign up a max of 10 kids, and all 4 of us core teachers are on there, and however many kids, so that way they can kind of sign up with their friends too, rather than just like the class period. Then they could be on there with their friends a little bit too. So that is another idea that you could do. So doing a sign up sheet for the kids where they can get together with, core teachers, and we could even be inviting encore teachers to that too. So log on, chat with your teachers, chat with your buddies for like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, share good memories, and say goodbye. So it's super weird to think about the fact that we're going to be saying goodbye to these guys soon. Like, I don't like it. I'm not ready for this type of goodbye yet, a virtual goodbye. It's kind of hard to think about, but I really, really like this idea of providing a virtual, online, like face-to-face, real-time goodbye for kids. So you could go by class period. You could go a free-for-all of everybody on the team all grouped together. Or lastly, you could do a sign-up sheet, so then that way they could be with their friends. So idea number 1 for a virtual goodbye is literally a real-time virtual goodbye. another idea that we've kind of been throwing around or playing around with is this idea of us teachers putting together some kind of video goodbye. So, if kids can't get on to a virtual real-time goodbye session, then we would at least still have a video that says goodbye to them. And maybe we share memories of each class period, or we try to come up with funny stories that have happened throughout the year, really great memories, what we appreciated about each class. If you have a small class, what you appreciated about each student. I feel like if all 4 of us core teachers did that for all 100+ students that we have, it'd be a really long video. So think about the things that you would want to share with the students. Even what were some things that were challenging and what you appreciated about that challenge, what you learned through that time, thinking about, just the good memories and the good things and the funny stuff. And oh man, do you guys remember that time when, and it was this huge running joke with, period 5 or whatever it happens to be. If you have some of those instances, and kind of the part that stinks, I guess, is that a lot of times those situations happen more in like 4th quarter because you really know them then, and they really know you too. And it's usually nice out and everybody's more chill and relaxed, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel for some of them. And I think that you just get so much more like good, funny story type stuff in the latter half of the year than you do at the beginning of the year. And we missed out on the last half of the last half of the school year. So you might have to dig deep. You might have to work with your coworkers and be like, okay, so what were maybe like some funny things that happened, or what were things that perhaps were a little frustrating in the moment, but are actually pretty hilarious right now. Like, hey, do you remember when like our biggest problem was going and that how irritating that was, or how many times you had to drop your hydro flask and how obnoxious that was, or the scrunchies like up to your elbows? Great memories, like super great memories. Oh, the other thing you could do in that video is, if you were doing something like that, you could dress the Visco girl part. Like, here's images of, trends from this year and the scrunchies and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, just another random idea that popped into my head. But you as a team or you as teachers can put together a goodbye and a little something for the students that you each record, and you can just use, like your video tool that you have on your computer already. Put those, pieces together and export that video, save it as the MP4 file, and then just upload it to whatever learning management system you have. You could also even send it out to kids in email form. So if real time isn't going to really work for some students, it's also a good idea, either in addition to or instead of that, you could be putting together a video for your students of you saying your goodbyes. So one of my colleagues and really good friends, who's on my team, was lamenting today during our team meeting that she's not going to be able to get the kids to sign her yearbook. And she's super, super bummed about that. And I know that there are some, virtual yearbooks, but I'm not sure if your school would be willing to hop on that train right now, or if it's a little too late for that. But you could do something similar to that yearbook signing. So the last idea was teachers doing a video. You could ask the students to put together their own goodbye. So they could either, for example, like create a collage or put together like a PowerPoint slide that has something like written by them, or maybe they handwrite something on a sheet of paper, design something on a sheet of paper and just take a picture of it and email you that picture. Because you can take those pictures or any of the videos that they would send you and you can just put them into your video editor tool already on your computer and then export that entire video. And it doesn't even have to just be the students. Like, you can be getting stuff from other teachers, you guys could put stuff in, and so this is just another way that you could build off of that if you have the time to. And you can say this is not required, but if you have anything that you want to say either to specific friends, the class as a whole, like, what do you want to say? What do you want to say in your goodbye? And the nice part is like they'll just be sending it to you. I would pick like one teacher on your team to just accumulate all of it and put it together. And so probably the most like pretty tech savvy person, I would say, should do this. But then you can see, so they're not like, I want to give a big F you to everybody. Like, you don't want that on like the ending yearbook. No, just not appropriate. So if you do something like that, you would be able to preview what the students are posting. So it's not just like a discussion post where they might end up posting anything and they're like, it's the end of the year, so it's not like I'm gonna get in trouble for anything. But you could do where they're sending either videos or pictures or images of handwritten notes or anything like that, and go ahead and you just put together the video. It would be pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but you do have to allow yourself enough time to be able to do that. So whatever your last week of school is, I would say the week prior, you put that out there and say you have this week up until Friday to send me a goodbye. And you can even give them examples of what that would look like, or even expectations for what that might look like, and put that together. And then that last week of school, you could put that out and allow for comments maybe that of course you would monitor for students to be able to maybe reply, because one student might be like, oh, hey Kendall, like, I just want to say, like, thank you for being such a great friend this year, and to the rest of the class, you're awesome, keep being awesome, like, whatever. But then maybe that, maybe Kendall didn't think to acknowledge that same student or that friend specifically, and she only talked to the whole class, and she might feel bad. So if you do like a discussion post, then Kendall would be like, oh, I'm so appreciative of you saying that, I'm so happy we're friends. Like, it gives them that opportunity, if they maybe like miss somebody, that they would feel like they have the chance to still interact with that person. So that is an idea for you too, is you can put out there to your students, we're going to put together like our own video yearbook of what we want to say to each other and our goodbyes and our memories and all of that kind of stuff. And you know what? If it ends up being a 20-minute video, it ends up being a 20-minute video. Like, it's not, they're going to watch it. They're going to love it. So that's another idea for you, is get your students involved with that goodbye. Now, final idea. So I know elementary, middle school especially, lots of teachers give out individual awards for students, and sometimes they're serious and sometimes they're funny. I know, like, with seniors in the yearbook, they'll do lots of like most likely tos. So if you do something like that, where it's most likely to, or if it's awards, whether they be silly or serious, you could put together a PowerPoint presentation like I showed you in a previous video and do the voiceover recordings. So you could have like the student, on our team, we always recognize students' birthdays. And at the beginning of the year, our social studies teacher is kind of the one who's in charge of that. And she has students, she'll use their school picture if they don't send her another picture, but they can send her, lots of them were doing their Bitmojis this year. So whatever picture like she has, she would put on like the PowerPoint presentation with the student's name and then what their award was. But the voiceover would be why. So if we have like something like most likely to be late for class because they can't get the lock on their locker open. So, Lewis, do you remember how many times that you were late for class because you couldn't get that dang locker combination down? How many buddies helped you out? Right? Silly. Hopefully things are better for you next year. And you know your students. You know the students that you can be goofy like that with. I had a student this year who, seriously, never on time for class. Never on time for class. Loved the kid to death. Amazing sense of humor. He loved when I would be like, kid, I'll smack ya. And it, like, cause he just, like, that was his humor. He thought that was funny. You know, like, I pretended he got a rise out of me and that was whatever. And one day, you guys, he showed up on time. And he walked in and I went, oh, what are you trying to do? Give me a heart attack? What are you doing here on time? He just laughed and laughed and laughed. That was so funny. Because I was like, I can't believe you're here. Like, what are you trying to do to me right now? Like, you're messing with my whole world right now with you being on time. And it was so funny. And the other hilarious part about all of that is after I like kind of was goofy with him about it, he was never late again to my class. Like, how funny is that? Anyways, so, but you know, like, your student's sense of humor, and you know who maybe can handle, like, the sarcasm and the joking and that kind of stuff, and who maybe can't. Who is, like, it's got to be serious and sunshine and butterflies and rainbows and, you know, those kinds of things. So hopefully you know your students well enough that if you are giving them awards, that you are giving them awards that they are able to handle. But if you do the voiceover, so if you do something a little bit more serious, like most likely to discover a new fossil. I don't know. Most likely to discover a new fossil. Like, in science class, I appreciated how you were willing to dig deeper, and I think that you'll be able to apply that skill, you know, in your future career. And this is what I visualize you being, you know? And so, but having that voiceover in there with those awards, because usually when you give awards like that, you're not just like, this person most likely to succeed, this person most likely to be a scientist. Like, that's not what you do. You make it more of a presentation and fun, and you can still do that with like the PowerPoint presentation, and you can like export it as a video file for them, so that way they can pause and go back and do all of that kind of stuff. It would be super, super fun. So if you're somebody who gives awards or recognition to individual students, it'd be really cool if you did something like on a PowerPoint presentation that has like their picture, their name, and either a written explanation, or even better, I would say, would be a voiceover explanation. And one of the big reasons why I would do a voiceover instead of something written, or in addition to something written, would be the tone of voice. They can hear your intonation then, and that way they hopefully wouldn't take any offense to anything. So something to keep in mind is if you're going to do something like that, I wouldn't just do a write-up. I would try to do something where they can actually hear your voice talk about them. So idea number 4 for awards presentations, PowerPoint with voiceover. All right, it is time to wrap up this video, and in closing, just like super quick review of the ideas for how you can have a strong and positive emotional closure to your school year for your students, and honestly for yourself too. First of all, do a real-time virtual meeting with your students. Secondly, put together a teacher video to your students. Third, in addition to that, or even instead of that, have your students send you images or a video of what they want to say to their classmates, their goodbye for the year. And then fourth would be to do an awards presentation using PowerPoint and voiceovers. So again, I don't care about the logistics of the kids bringing their district owned materials back. It's a very logistical thing, and I'm more worried about making sure I give them that, it's social emotional, right? It's that like they're missing that piece so incredibly much, and if we could give them just a semblance of that, just a little bit of that, and not making it all about checking off that you have all of these items returned to the school, I think that would be a much more impactful way to end our school year. And I know that it can be challenging not to worry about. I want all of my historical fiction novels back for my literature circles. Of course I do. Am I going to get them all back? No. And you know what? I don't personally have to pay for it. So, the district's going to eat some dollars on this. That's just the way that it's going to go. But it's really our responsibility as educators to give our students the end of the year that they deserve. And if it can't be the way it's always been done, then flip and find a new way to end it and still make it awesome. Because you guys are awesome. These students, even though sometimes they make you want to pull your hair out, they're awesome too. And they deserve it. So please, please, please think about how are you going to end your year and how are you going to make it awesome and memorable for your students. Have an awesome, awesome wrap up to your school year. With love, Nicole.